Hello everybody and welcome to episode 4 of Dragoncast. Tonight's episode will be all about Dragon Ball video games, and chances are if you are a fan of Dragon Ball, you've played at least one of their video games. Might be a surprise to some of you, but did you know that since 1986 there's been over 70 Dragon Ball games made, so yes, I'm sure the majority of you have played a few of them. Talk about oversaturating the market, right? Especially these days. I mean, ever since 1986, it seems like a couple of games have been made every year. And as long as they make money, they'll never stop making them. And some of the games are good, some of the games are bad. Well, people will keep playing them, they'll keep making them, and they'll keep making a quick buck. I myself have played around 25 or so of the 70 plus games over the years, and some of them were keepers, and some of them I just played once or twice and never played again. If I had to make a top 5 list of all the Dragon Ball games I've ever played, I guess I'd have to start at number 5 with Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo on the Wii. There's not too many Dragon Ball games out there, I've noticed. It's mostly just Dragon Ball Z and GT with a few Dragon Ball elements mixed in there. I always thought they should make a few more Dragon Ball games, but now they're going to go with Z because it was always the most popular of the trilogy. Number 4 would be Dragon Ball Z Hyper Dimension on the Super Nintendo. A lot of you don't remember the Super Nintendo games, much less played them, but Hyper Dimension was ahead of its time. For a Super Nintendo game, it had almost, 3D graphics, which were pretty good back then, kind of like how Star Fox was on the original Star Fox on the Super Nintendo. It had that mind-blowing graphics that people had never seen on that console. Number 3 would be Super Butenden 2. Not sure if I'm even saying that right with all those Japanese words. But Super Butenden 2, it was an awesome game. One of the first ones I ever played, actually, and I was hooked on it easily. Played it for hours at a time. At number 2 would be Dragon Ball Z Budokai 3. That one came out in the early 2000s. It was one of the first wave of games to come out in the 2000s, and out of all the Budokais, it was the best. And my number 1 favorite Dragon Ball video game of all time would be Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Again, out of all the Budokai Tenkaichis, it was the best, and I've noticed the majority of fans out there agree Budokai 3 and Budokai Tenkaichi 3 were the 2 best Dragon Ball games ever made. And speaking of Budokai Tenkaichi 3, it's time for our first song. And here's High and Scream off of the Budokai Tenkaichi 3 original soundtrack here on Dragoncast. and that was Aftermath off of the Ultimate Tenkaichi original soundtrack. You know, one of the cool things that I always thought about today's Dragon Ball games especially were the little what-if stories that you could play. They had some in Budokai, they had some in the Tenkaichi games, and in the Raging Blast games, and probably a few others I'm not aware of because I haven't played all of the new recent games. But some of the cool what ifs that I remember was starting with Budokai. It was kind of funny, where Cell was having a dream within the 10 days before the Cell games, and he dreamed that he accidentally absorbed Krillin instead of 18 after he pushed her out of the way, in which he became known as Cellin. And it was funny, he basically looked like a little Cell Jr., except he was orange and had Krillin's little 6 dots on his head, and yeah, his power dropped drastically, and then, he woke up from the dream very, very disturbed, as I'm sure anyone would if they joined bodies with someone like Krillin. And then, of course, I haven't really played the Raging Blast games, except maybe a couple times, and that was a while back. But they had Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta and Broly. I always thought that was cool. My listeners who listen to my other episodes and anybody who's talked to me about Dragon Ball in general knows that I would love to see Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta in the new movie that's being made. So they have them in video games, they might as well throw them in the new movie, right? Alright. We're going to take a quick commercial break, pay some bills, and when we come back, we'll play Cell's theme from Super Butenden 2 here on DragonCast. Welcome back, everybody. That was Survive from the Budokai Tenkaichi 3 original soundtrack. Another game I'd like to talk about real quick is Dragon Ball Online. It sparked a lot of hype a few years ago. Akira Toriyama was working on it, and over the years, everybody always thought it would be cool if we had a World of Warcraft-style Dragon Ball game. The only problem is that I haven't really heard much about it since 2010. I'm not sure if it'll ever be playable outside of Asian countries. It's pretty much just in Korea right now, from what I understand. I haven't heard anyone play in it in the Dragon Ball communities that I frequent. I haven't heard so much as a word about it since 2010 as far as forums go. And it's, I hope that they bring it to America someday. They need to bring it here. I mean, they say that they may not bring it to any other countries if it doesn't do good in Korea and Japan, but we have a pretty big fan base in America, so I think if they brought it here it would do well, and they would make a pretty good amount of money. And as of right now, you need a Korean Social Security number to even play it. So you can't play it legally unless you're a citizen of Korea. And I always thought that was kind of weak. Hopefully they'll iron out the details and get that out to us sooner. But with Dragon Ball Online, you can't really play as Saiyans. It's pretty much Saiyan human hybrids, Majins like Buu, and Nameks that look like they breeded with Cybermen or something. So, I don't know. The game looks cool, but I'll never know until I play it how much fun it will be. So hopefully we'll get to that one of these days. Okay, here's a time for a next song. It's the Namek theme from the original Dragon Ball Z Budokai, here on Dragon Cast. And that was Mind Space from the Budokai Tenkaichi 2 original soundtrack. And that's the show, everybody. I'd like to thank you once again for listening. And I would like to do a quick plug real quick before we end this episode. I opened a new Dragon Ball forum community just a couple weeks ago. It doesn't have a whole lot of members yet, and it is kind of dead, but it just opened, and we could use some more members and activity. So I urge all of you to please go visit and sign up and join the discussions. We even have a debate tournament that's going to start pretty soon. You might want to join that if you're interested. The link for it will be in this episode's description. It's kind of a long URL, so I'm not going to bother reading it on air. But please do check it out and sign up and join us. And, your humble host, Mishimi, will be there. The administrator, of course. So hopefully we'll see you there. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter at dragon_cast to chat and comment about the show if you want, or just bullshit, whatever you want to do. If you have any music requests for the next episode, get them to me on Twitter or here on the show's website's comment section. Or you can even do it on Dragon Ball Makai or the Neoseeker Dragon Ball Forum communities. Alright, everybody. Well, that's it until next time. We'll see you later. Good night.